Welcome to the Escapart podcast. My name is Stuart. Thank you for listening. For those of you who've never heard the Escapart podcast before, it is little more than the musings of one particular person about escapology, magic, and generally bits and bobs he's seen in the press. So take that as you will. For those of you who've listened in the past and wondered where I've been for the last few months, or nearly a year, the answer is that I have not been well. And without going into the details, let's just say I'm slowly getting better, but I'm still far from 100%. So anyway, big shout out to Matt Johnson, who did an amazing performance on Britain's Got Talent, well, several performances on Britain's Got Talent. Each one was beautifully presented, each one was fantastic, and each one hit all the emotional notes that I'm quite sure he intended to hit. Also, huge shout out to Dave Richards, who is about to do, in September will be performing Submersion in London, and also to Dean Jacob, who is performing the Plunge in Ireland. I believe it's in Dublin. I'm just going to double check. Yes, it is. It's in Dublin. So if you're in London or if you're in the UK, please go and support Dave Richards in London. And if you're in Ireland or going to be holidaying in Ireland, drop in on Mr. Jacobs. And also, I'd be remiss if I didn't also give shout outs to a great number of performers, including some of my fellow UKA members, who've been performing and raising money for charity. So congratulations to Tony, Anthony Gough, for his performance, which gained some good press, and also Tim Houlton, who raised a phenomenal amount of money for cancer charities. So to both of you, well done, congratulations, hats off, and continue to keep pushing the art forward. Also to a couple of other performers out there, you know who you are, and thank you for your help and support back in May, and generally thank you guys for being awesome. Those of you who've caught up with me over the last few months have seen I've not been 100%, but you've been very gracious and said some kind words regardless. And so to those who've sort of had a quick look and gone, "You're alright," and I've gone, "Nah, not really," thank you for being neighbourly. And to those who are still out there performing and doing the good work and helping make Escapology be remembered for the wonderful, fun and entertaining spectacle it can be, well done. Please, congratulations, keep it up. This leads me, by way of a little bit of a swerve, into something that's on my mind, and I'm going to be writing about this, hopefully. Depends if I can get to the keyboard. And that will be talking about the announcement that came out recently, or I'll be writing about, I'm talking at the moment, yeah, see, not 100%, that it's about the World Championship that's been announced. And it brought back some memories, and there's very few people who listen to this will remember, but back in the olden days, there were things called Yahoo groups and AOL groups. And this is long before Facebook arrived, and I somehow, by luck or fair wind or pure happenstance, found myself in a group. When I started out, I was about 6 to 7 months into trying any form of magic, and relatively so green. Grass looks to me for a comparison on green, and that's how amateurish I was, and still am. But we ended up in a Yahoo group with Chad, Steve Santini, Ian McCall, Norman Bigelow, Sean Ness, who performed as The Extreme, and Dr. Zodiac were all there, and they took this bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, naive Englishman under their wing, and they were very kind and guided me in the right direction. And so it's entirely their fault that I'm doing this now. I can blame them, but there is no blame to give. But it ended up us talking in the discussion groups about how do you measure success, because it was clear you had the greats of the industry, you had Nick Jansen, who's the world's most handcuffed man because he can verify every handcuff escape he's actually ever done. You have Mario Mancini, who is absolutely amazing and is Guinness recognised world champion. And of course you had some other championships, and I naively said, well, why aren't we doing them? And the conversation was polite and diplomatic, but short, and it was, well, who's going to judge it? Who's going to measure it? Who is going to be the person to validate it? And and this comes back to something I said years before I even got into escapology, and who's actually going to be the judge? Who's going to be the person to turn around and say, yes, that's allowed and that isn't? Now, if we were driving NASCAR, you've got a set of rules from NASCAR. You can't turn up with a Formula 1 car or an Indy car or a dirt bike. There are a series of rules. Same with Formula 1. I can't turn up with Thrust SSC or the Batmobile. There are certain rules and regulations that need to be met. So who is going to be the person who sits down and writes those regulations? And then what format do you use? Do we turn it into a stage competition like you have at the Magic Circle, like you have at every Magic Club in the UK at the moment? Do you have a close-up section? Do we do close-up escapology? Does anyone else other than me do close-up escapology? I'm asking. Do we do parlour? Do we have busking? How do you measure? Where do you put the demarcation line? Is that demarcation line agreed? And you may sit back and go, well, you're being pedantic. Well, not really, because I heard an advert on the radio this morning, and they were talking about tyres on cars, and they had at the end of the advert saying, well, these tyres will grip even when they're worn. And right at the end, a bit like you get in a financial advert, the actor read out the lawyer's statement at the end, and it was sort of like, grip is taken under the measurement of the term grip as used by, and proceeded to write off 3 or 4 governing bodies, the FIA and RAC and everyone else, AAA's definition of grip. And worn is taken to be, and proceeded to go into precise detail on the tread depth. So whereas we sit around and go, oh, that's clearly this, that's clearly that, that's only because we've sat down and had a dialogue. And this is where it being magicians and us being escapologists, and the mindset that on the one hand we are one and the same, but never the twain shall meet, you find yourself arguing over, is performing in the street magic? Is it close up? Is it parlour? You can make the argument, well, it's not parlour because it's outdoors. Okay, but is it close up? Well, yes and no, depends how you do it. And that triggers a whole series of discussions, because who's going to make that demarcation line? Now, a lot of people might hear that and go, well, of course it isn't. It's you set up a boundary, you're a set distance away. But then you don't do close-up magic sitting on someone's lap. Well, maybe you do. Maybe I've been doing it wrong. Maybe somebody out there can do an entire close-up magic routine in the most inappropriate way possible in the current climate. But I have a curiosity as to that. Sorry, I've just got a mental image. I'm raising that. But the joy of it, or the lack of it, is you have to sit down and make the regulations. But that's comes back to performance. It comes back to presentation, and perhaps the skill takes a second place. It's the difference between bodybuilding and weightlifting. Bodybuilding, it's the presentation of the sculpted muscles that you've put onto the frame through all those hours of training and dieting. Weightlifting, you don't look like Dorian Yates, you don't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger or He-Man. You just have the power to do the lift, and as a result you have a different physique. So the skill, the strength, may not be measured to the same degree as you would measure the presentation. So how do you measure that? So that's the question. So I sat down over a couple of months, and I've whispered it to a couple of people, and they've come back and said, you know what, I'd love to do that. So here's the thing. I think we should have, in addition to a close-up competition, in addition to a stage competition, in addition to busking, I think we should have a skill competition. But to do a skills competition, it's all got to be in full view. So without going into the technical bits and bobs, because this is public domain, there will be a piece in the newsletter. But starting off, it's perhaps 3 or 4 rounds. Rule 1, open invite. We book a sports hall somewhere for an afternoon. Open invite, and round 1 is bring something along that is a restraint. It could be a straitjacket, it could be a pair of cuffs, but the preparation of it has to be, and the escape from it has to be as well. So the total time from the instant your name is called, and this includes stuff being done backstage, to getting out, it's got to be ready in 5 minutes. So that stops you turning up with a water tank, stops you turning up with something that requires 20 minutes of prep work backstage, because you've got to be in, set up, ready to go, and the person's got to escape within 5 minutes, because otherwise we're going to waste 2 days just on round 1, and whoever's watching it, if anyone does come in from the public to pay 10p towards charity to watch it or anything like that, they're not paying to watch the boring bits they cut out of Scrap Heap Challenge. They want to see you get in and get out. So, something simple. But here's the thing. It's common knowledge, because it's been in the Houdini biopics. There are occasionally escape artists who tweak things. Just to monkey things up a bit. I mean, Houdini got caught with shotgun pellets down the barrel of the derbies. So, let's look at this. How do you prevent that? Well, you prevent it by giving the person who's been challenged the option of saying, no, you get out of it. So if you're the kind of person that someone thinks is going to take a liberty, that person who thinks you're going to take a liberty has the right to put you in it. So if you've set it up so you can't get them off, you can't get them off. So it's trying to keep us all fair and all above board, and just generally try and keep it civil in round 1. And that round would be, if 8 people turns up, so that's 8 times 5, that's 40. It's going on an hour and a half just to get everyone through, if it's 5 minutes each way. And of course, if I challenge you and you say no, you get out, and I don't get out, the other person, you, go through. If I get out, I go through and you don't. It's that sort of principle. So the second round. Well, open season. Let's go and use the Guinness rules for leg irons and handcuff escapes up the arm. So 5 pairs of handcuffs up the arms. You get out as fast as you can. Then you have to walk or run, depending how fit you are, 5 meters, so 15 odd feet, and you get put in leg irons, which are double locked. And you then, any method applies, get out of them. And then you go back and you get out of the handcuffs again, and so on and so forth. And you do that 3 times, and it's the fastest time. So you're checking skill, you're checking ability to get out. Also, it's entertaining because, with the greatest of respect, I don't think I can run 5 meters without gasping for air and falling over. So if nothing else, you'll get a comedy pratfall. Then, that way, you get a pecking order. The next round would be, and this is possibly me being a bit evil, it would be a regulation posy straitjacket. Now, I know a few of you are sitting there and going, well, what's evil about that? We get out of those all the time. Yes. Well, first of all, we'd tighten everything up using a torque gauge, so we'd make absolutely sure everyone has the same amount of tension on all of the straps. But we'd also have weighed everyone. Now, before you go, well, what's that got to do with everything? You see, I know that they make gym-style flak jackets now. These are basically bulletproof vests where you take the panels out and you put weighted panels in. It helps build conditioning. It means when you're running, you've got a back. Long story short, if I weigh 100 kilos, I'm going to have 25 kilos of extra weight put on me. The reason for that is everyone has the same challenge. Also, you try bending your body in a flak jacket. Nothing revealed there. No secrets revealed, but you try bending double in a corset. Exactly. Not gonna. It's designed to make it a challenge that none of us have ever faced before. Finally, last round, assuming anyone's still standing and no one's had cardiac, no one's had a stroke trying to get out of that. Maybe that's a challenge for next year's UKA AGM, guys. Hey, Stuart, you created this escape. Guess what we've got for you? Yeah, I'm happy. I'll give it a go. Yeah, get me in 2 days. I'll be fine. The last one is the open challenge. We just go through every challenge anyone's ever faced, be it, the John Ball jacket for Val Walker, anything thrown at Houdini, anything thrown at Murray. You just pick it out. You just have a bowl. You have a salad bowl. You have numbers. You put it in, take out a random number. That's what everyone faces at the end. And at the end, it's the person who's accumulated the most points or the fastest time. That's the person who is the winner. And for everyone else, they can still have a go at a stage competition or a close-up competition or busking. And that's my suggestion. That's my stream of consciousness. And why do I think that? Well, put on Netflix, and there are 8 or 9 documentaries for CrossFit. CrossFit is basically a bunch of people doing random exercises against the clock. That's a gross simplification, and please, I know that these people train very, very hard because I've tried CrossFit and I'm useless at it. I tried it for 4 weeks and came to the conclusion, knickers, I'm too old for this. If this had come across when I was like 10, yes, perfect. I'm not 10 anymore. I'm multiple decades on top of that, and I can't hack it anymore, which is another reason why I've been very, very ill. Trying to do what I could barely do when I was 26 now is not good for me. So anyway, this was meant to be a short update. We're already in 18 minutes. So anyway, yeah, that was almost Stewie Griffin. No, where we are is that's my thoughts. That's going to get written up into an article, hopefully for the Ties newsletter. The final thing is a brief update because I also had a wonderful opportunity, and that was to present at the Magic Circle in London. I was presenting a product, and that was for a Magician's Dragon's Den. I mention this because, as ever, any opportunity to talk about the art, present the art, is always something that appeals to me. And it also surprises me because magicians and escapologists, we're very specialised in our areas. And like I said before, never the twain shall meet. There are things that the escapology community are aware of and products the escapology community use that as soon as a magician sees it for the first time, you see their eyes go out on stalk and go, my God, how did you do that? And the same's for me. I see mentalism. Every time I see a mind reader or a bizarre magic performance, I'm just sitting there like a child watching Star Wars for the first time. It's like, well, how the heck did he do that? So that's by the by. But I did perform there, and on the back of that, I am very pleased to announce that I am marketing the Napoleon button. I'm making it. I am producing it. So if anyone is curious about what the Napoleon button is, do get in touch via Facebook, via email, via Twitter, or via that's the hobby. That's my radio show. I do apologise. For those of you who don't know, I'm on Chelmsford Community Radio, broadcasting on 104.4 FM and streaming online with the Mystery Show. The mystery is, why is that show still on the air? It's meant to be a talk show. I've had 3 guests and I'm on episode 137. Anyway, moving on. It was a great opportunity performing at the Magic Circle, and there's several items that will be coming out in the next few months. So if you're interested, do get in touch. Leave a note in the comment section. But more importantly, just aside from all of that, very, very quickly, thank you to everybody I've met on my journey so far. I haven't stopped. I'm still putting one foot in front of the other. But most importantly, thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone in the UKAA for being the brothers in arms and the sisters in arms that they have been. My thanks to those at Doomsday. You know who you are. And my thanks to the other organisations I'm part of. Big shout out to Southend Sorcerers, who, if you're in the Southend area anytime in the next few weeks, there is going to be a performance of the Sorcerers at the Dixon Studio in Southend-on-Sea. Do look it up. It's called As If by Magic, and you will see some of the greatest performers in the southeast of England today. They are absolutely brilliant, particularly for club magicians, to put on a professional show as they do every year is absolutely incredible, and I have nothing but respect for them, and I'm hopefully going to be free to at least put my head around the door and just watch a performance if I get time. The final thing is that I also want to shout out to those who only know me through my book. For those of you who technically it is books, because I did do an explanation manual, but it's the book is 12 times to the max, which is a talk about my world records, and that's on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. There'll be several links to several things in the description, but it just generally, I just want to say thank you to everybody, and genuinely thank you to those who've read the book and liked the book. Thank you to everyone who was supportive, and thank you to those who continue to be supportive. If you have a positive comment to leave, please leave a positive comment. If you have a negative comment, then with the greatest of respect, it's not gonna make your day any better, and if anything, it might actually make it slightly worse. So positive comments only. If you've got nothing good to say, don't say anything. And as ever, huge shout out to everyone who's been there for me over the last few years, and hopefully I'll be able to post something next week. Gossip, but we'll see what happens with that. But that's the show. First episode of the Escapart podcast since the wonderful Escape performed by Andy Robinson in Scotland. That was amazing. So if you can find that online, do go and look at it, because Andy nailed that set Escape. To this day, I still haven't got a clue how he did it, and believe me, I wish I knew. But that's it. I've rambled enough. Thank you to everybody. Do take care and enjoy. Keep safe.